Professional Artists as Teachers with At-Risk Youth, a Narrative Case Study. This was written by Margaret Brewington Douglas in 2004 as an unpublished doctoral dissertation. The research examines the techniques and strategies implemented by professional artists who serve as teachers and their perception of effectiveness in teaching at-risk youth. Douglas asks two questions. Question 1. What factors influence the professional artists as teachers, their choice of strategies and methodologies with at-risk youth? Question 2. What were the teacher's perceptions of effectiveness of his or her approach? The researcher decided to embark on this study because she found that in 2001, 2.3 million youth under the age of 18 were arrested. Research shows that children who get arrested are those who will become the most violent offenders. By intervening in a child's life early, juvenile crimes can be reduced. To conduct the study, the researcher examined the teaching techniques and strategies of 4 professional artists who were teaching 8 to 17-year-old at-risk children in a community-based arts program and observed their perceived effectiveness. The subjects were dance, music, theater, and visual arts. The researcher collected data between December 2002 and November 2003. The researcher used observations, interview transcripts, audio-visual material, performances, documents, physical artifacts, and field notes to collect data. To make sure the study was valid and reliable, the data was subject to member checks and peer evaluation. The researcher also made a list of her current beliefs and expectations and compared her findings to her prior beliefs so that this did not influence her findings. During observations, each artist created a product, such as a dance, with his or her students. Unfortunately, these are not able to be viewed. The researcher found that 36 factors affected the artist's choice of teaching strategy. Some common factors were related to the ability level, class size, attendance, the facility, respect of students, students' moods, attitude of the students, and their interests. Some of the common strategies included immediate feedback, praise, redirection, and the student's input in lesson planning. Overall, the artists perceived that their approaches to be effective. Their perceived effectiveness was based on whether or not the goals were achieved for the session. According to the researcher, the goals seemed to be reasonable and measurable. One artist thought he was successful based on his students' future choices, such as to go on to college. The artists were adaptable in terms of changing according to the situation. They also used positive feedback and knew when to intervene and when to ignore behavior. Douglas had many suggestions for the reader. She suggests teachers should identify their own multiple intelligences and those of their students, and use those to teach their students. Find a way to achieve some degree of empowerment. Get the students involved in designing goals and the product. Incorporate multicultural education. Use the arts in different types of learning. Redirect off-task students. Understand that there will be challenges. Recognize artists can be teachers, but all teachers must have a talent for teaching. The researcher concluded that there were many factors that affected the artist's choice of strategy. For the most part, the artists perceived their approaches to be effective. Personally, I believe this was a worthwhile study. It presents artists as teachers, which gives the reader a different perspective. It made me think of why I choose to use a specific teaching strategy and how effective my teaching strategies are. Artists have different training from classroom teachers. Therefore, they may have more original ideas that could be helpful to the trained professional. Perhaps I could evaluate specific teaching strategies that I use, and then my perception of how effective